Welcome to Sustainable Leadership Live. I'm your host, Lisa Danforth, and I have these two amazing women with me here today. We have Cammie Doder and Sandi Bragar from Aspirants. Thank you, ladies, for joining and just sharing your brilliance with the audience.
We're so glad to be here, Lisa. Thank you.
I can't wait to just dive right in. But before we do, what I'd really like to do is just share a little bit about Cammie and Sandi so you know a little bit about them and why we're talking about leadership and money. So Sandi is the Chief Client Officer and partner at Aspirants, and Cammie is the Chief Marketing Officer and also a partner at Aspirants, which is a leading independent wealth management firm. And they're also the co-hosts of Money Tales podcast, which I can't say enough about the podcast. Be sure to check that out. But I just also want to share Aspirants tagline. You got to check it out. It just says so much in one sentence. Some wealth management firms go back 150 years. We go 150 years forward. I love that. I think it's so powerful. Now, I could go on for hours about these two amazing, completely service-oriented women, but I say let's just jump right in and start the conversation about leadership and money. You ready?
Let's go for it.
Okay. All right. Where would you like to start? Do you want to start with the two sides of money?
I think that's a great jumping off spot, Lisa. So when we talk with our clients who are family business owners, corporate executives, and entrepreneurs about their wealth, we make sure that we discuss that there are really two sides of money. The first side is the technical side of money. The second side is the emotional side of money. So the technical side of money, I think, is what most people think about when they think about money. It's taxes. It's how do we put a budget together? What do we need to know about insurance? Retirement plan limits. There's so much to know on the technical side. There's so much, right? It can be overwhelming, but it's all important. It's all important. But just as important is the other side of money, Lisa, and that's the emotional side of money. That's how we feel about money. It's our thinking. It's the messages we learned about money when we were kids that we sometimes aren't even aware of, and it just kind of comes up in our life when we're making decisions. And what we've noticed working with clients for decades is that it's the emotional side of money that really causes people to make decisions, right? We all think we're being rational, but if we're not really paying attention, it's that emotional side that bubbles up. And what we thought we would do is just a really quick experiment to really bring the technical and the emotional side of money to life. So if everyone's willing, I'm going to ask to think about, and maybe if you have a pencil and paper nearby, or whatever device you write things down on, I want you to quickly estimate your net worth, right? This is the technical side of money. What is the value of all your different assets, your bank accounts, your brokerage accounts, retirement accounts, all the things that you own? Maybe you own a home. Add up all the values of the assets, or just quickly estimate them in your mind. And then I want you to think about money that you owe, right? What debt do you have? Do you have a mortgage? Are there student loans? Do you have credit card debt? Whatever it is, just add it up. And then I want you to take the total value of your assets, subtract out the value of your debt or your liabilities, and what's left over is your net worth. That's a very technical exercise. Now what I'd like you to do, on the count of 3, I'd like you to type in your net worth into the chat. 1, 2. Now, I'm not going to actually get to 3, but I think that feeling that you might have had, and at least I'm curious, what were you feeling?
Oh God, no one's going to post their net worth on public social media. Absolutely. I was like,
right?
Oh.
And why is that? It's because we have these emotions around money. We're taught in our society to be careful about money, to judge people or not to be judged. There's so much going on. And I think that exercise really drives home the emotional aspects of money.
Oh yeah, I mean, as the host, I wasn't going to type in right now, but I literally was like, oh, I wouldn't want to do that. But it is such an amazing example. Thank you for sharing that. And I will say every week at the end of the week, I figure out what my net worth is. I got that from a retreat that I went to for the one thing and adding it all up. And it's amazing how just keeping track weekly of what my net worth is has had me be aware of my choices, again, the technical and the emotional component, but whoo, that was a big one.
Good for you, Lisa. What a great exercise and commitment to having this important conversation, at least with yourself, which might be a good segue, about the importance of talking about money, which is something that was the inspiration for Sandi and me when we launched Money Tales podcast. And what it came from was really when we were talking about the differences of a relationship with clients, and what clients expressed to us is like, wow, thanks so much for being there for us. It's about the ability to have these conversations about their money, how they're feeling, the more emotional side. They were able to have those conversations with us as their wealth managers. And they said, but we don't talk to anybody else about this. And what we realized is there's this big taboo still out there that, in society, we talk about everything, but we don't talk about money. Not that you have to talk about your numbers, your dollars and cents. How about just what are your blockers? How do you feel about it? Your connections, your questions. We have noticed that society, we just hold back. And so that was really an inspiration for us, that what can we do to demonstrate productive money conversations? Because we think it's super important. You don't just have to be high net worth to have really important money conversations. We all need to be doing this. So that was really an inspiration for Sandi and me when we launched Money Tales.
I would even challenge the thought that it's even more important if you're not a high net worth, if you're struggling, to really bring it out into the open and have those conversations. And only then can we tease out the emotional side so that we can then lean into the technical side, which is what I love so deeply about what you two do, at Aspirants, but also with the Money Tales podcast. How do you get people to talk about money, either on the podcast, but more what I'd really love to know is, do you have a couple of questions that you could share for people who aren't investing or don't have someone to lean into, that they could have that conversation with either a good friend or their spouse or their parents?
Absolutely. I think one of the great places to start, Lisa, is just by asking permission from the person that you want to speak to have an open conversation. Because I think when you set it up and you ask for that consent, it kind of takes, some of the
Edge.
Yeah, some of the edge off. And you can qualify and really set up the environment for the conversation and say, I want to have an open conversation about money. I want it to be a judgment-free zone. I need some support. Maybe you need some support around these conversations. And if we talk about it together, we might be able to make some progress. And so you can do that with one-on-one. If you have a small group of friends or peers, there's so many different formats in which we can have money conversations. And the importance is to get out and have them. And so once you've set up that environment, that safe place for having the conversation, a comfortable place I've found to start with, and we go here oftentimes on Money Tales, is tell me about money when you're growing up. Mm-hmm. What was it like? Because everybody can talk. I shouldn't say everybody. Often people can talk pretty easily about their experience when they were much younger, because you have a little bit of lens as an adult and you can reflect back on it. And when you look back to your experience growing up, oftentimes you can really identify some of the messages you were receiving from the adults you were raised by, or maybe from society, or just the time period of life that you were living in, because of whatever was going on historically. All of that really forms these messages and scripts that we have around money. And so that's a really nice jumping off spot. And then we can kind of go from there and build up. And, that's one example. Cammie, do you want to?
Sandi, one of my favorites is, and it can be harder, but what's your relationship with money? And
is it loving? Is it a little animosity?
Right. And Sandi loves to say, where do you feel it in your body when that's a great one to just really get at. How does it impact you? But yeah, the relationship with money, is it something that controls you? Is it, and no judgment. I really think that's such an important thing, that you can say, yeah, I feel bound up by money, or it feels cold, or no, I think money is fun. I think money is freedom. And so those kind of conversations are just a great way, or, another question to bring to life that connectivity.
Yeah, I love that conversation, and just getting comfortable with it is so, so very important. And just, where does it land in our body? Those feelings really direct us. I just want to give a shout out to Kate Payne. And she said a little bit of both. Absolutely. I was like, I'm like, well, the money's fun, but sometimes when the credit cards come due, that's not so fun. But as Cammie, as you were talking, you were making me think of, I'm a voracious reader, and you're making me think of this book that I have recommended so many times. It's called The 7 Laws of Enough. And it is such a wonderful book. And the first law is, our stories matter. It's the lens through which we see and experience life. And that impacts us, whether it's with our family, our religion, our community. All of that upbringing really affects how we approach everything. And I think especially money, because we don't talk about it.
That's right.
Lisa, yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Lisa. I mean, Sandi.
I was just going to say, knowing your money story is so important. And something that I don't think enough people appreciate is the fact that just because we have a money story that we've been carrying within us for years and years and years, doesn't mean that has to be the story that we continue to live by. We can change our story, and we can make it fit with where we want to go. So I think that's something important to be aware of.
So true. In everything. I mean, everything that you're saying is so in alignment with the coaching that I do with my clients.
Lisa, I thought you were going to go the 7 laws of enough. A number of our guests have talked about how easy it is to keep moving the bar.
Oh, yes.
You're living in this, everything's great, but then you're doing well. And so next thing you know, you're just moving it. You're making it harder to achieve your goals, but you do it subconsciously. The house gets bigger, so the debt gets bigger. You could afford it, but then why are you doing this? Just checking back into your values. And I always appreciate guests that share where they might have tripped up, or where the one guest told us they intentionally did not move that bar. They didn't move it, but they had to come in every day and think about, how do I not move the bar?
And Lisa, we see this oftentimes in the work we do with clients too. And I think that's where we and other financial advisors out there can be really beneficial to people, because we can help our clients really be accountable to their goals. And if they are starting to stretch, we have the opportunity to come in and check, is that really where you want to go? Have your goals shifted, or have you achieved enough? And this is really where you want to be.
That sustainability. I think it's that's such an important topic right there, of really what is enough. Not that you might not go for more, but knowing where that level is, so that we can be sustainable, so that we don't get overwhelmed. It creates some ease around us.
Yeah. And for some people, just to bring it back to the technical and the emotional sides of money, for some people, enough is a dollar amount. And from a technical aspect, it's really easy to calculate, are you there yet? Or what else needs to happen in order to get there? But there are other qualitative aspects of enough that I know you talk about with your clients, Lisa, and that's really important, right? Am I living the life that I really want to be living? Am I in alignment with my values? Am I spending enough time with the people I really want to be spending time with? Am I doing the things that really fulfill me and bring purpose to my life?
That is just the core value piece is so very important, because it does guide our choices, our decisions, all of it, when we are sort of at a crossroads. Do I invest money, or do I buy those beautiful new pair of shoes? Something like that. Kate said, a friend of mine reminds me that we don't make money, we receive money. Ooh, I think that one is from the fabulous Betsy Clark, who is going to be on again next a couple of more weeks. The money is energy. What are your thoughts on that, please?
I think for some people, it really can be. I think it's really a mindset. There is power in thinking about money as energy. Many of our guests have commented on their realization that is the case for them. But for some people, they're coming from a different perspective, and money might have other connotations. And so I think if you can develop a mindset about money, which really encapsulates your experience and what you want your experience to be, that can be extremely powerful in achieving the goals that you've set out for yourself.
And the best way to achieve those mindsets, right? We can keep it in ourselves, or if we're talking about it, we're going to have a better chance of really breaking down some of the challenges we face. And I love the person who says money is energy, and that's a really positive aspect of it. I think there's a lot of people who find money strangling or
Mhm.
confining, or there's some obligation as a result of money. And we really, I want to encourage the conversations that create the opportunity versus the challenges.
Beautiful. What's coming up for me as you're talking and with Kate's comment is I often talk to my clients about how a goal is a place to come from, not get to. When we
Mm,
sit in the energy of achieving our goal, whether it is financial success, relationship success, increased sustainability or whatever it is, we make choices differently when we're sitting in the energy and connected to our core values, that it does change our choices and whatnot moving
Those
forward.
those values are so important because what happens when we make decisions, especially money decisions, that are not aligned with our values?
hmm.
Right?
Right.
Those
Might feel good in
emotions
the
start to
moment.
flood in, right? And we start to feel it in our body. That's when you get that sixth sense, maybe in your stomach, or your shoulders get really tight. And we feel it, we know it. And sometimes we won't acknowledge it. But if we do acknowledge it, if we're honest with ourselves, and again, if we're talking about it with other people that we really care about, it can really help normalize our experience and help us get through that and make decisions that are better aligned with all those values you're talking about, Lisa.
And
It's
Lisa, is
so
there time to talk about that? All this stuff you don't have to do yourself, right? That
yes,
there's
thank you.
something about money. Like, we think that we have to do everything ourselves. And yet in life, we go out to expert service providers, we delegate, we find trusted advisors, whether it's your dentist or your hairdresser. I don't know what it is about money that we think we should be born with the knowledge. We should retain, this is our purview. We should be able to be experts in all areas. Something we talk about a lot of Aspirant is, how do we free people up to focus on the things they are passionate about? And if some aspects is tracking your money and being involved in the details, that's fantastic. If it's not, go find someone you trust that can help guide and manage that aspect. And it's so important. That's what really leaders do. Leaders don't try and do it all. They get
Right.
a great team around them, and they build up that team to help achieve the goals.
To sort of bring it back to the emotional component, how much do you think shame has to do with people not reaching out to an expert or to not really look at what's going on for them?
Shame is present for many people. I think there's a lot of different reasons. There's sometimes shame. Sometimes it's fear of being judged, feeling like I should know this and I don't, and they're gonna, someone's gonna make fun of me or think that I'm not educated. Sometimes it's just a lack of confidence, right? Of not knowing who to reach out to and who to trust. And just sort of fear of being taken advantage of. So I think there can be a lot of different reasons why people don't build a team to help support them. Sometimes it can just be because they're too busy, right? They're focused on so many other things. They just don't have the time. So I think this, again, is where money conversations can be very helpful, because if you're in conversation, especially with your close friends and family members, you can ask about how other people are doing it, and you can get referrals to people that have been vetted by the folks that you know and trust the most, who can help you. And I think, some people are just uncomfortable delegating and building a team. So you don't have to go out and kind of go all full fog, just fully dive into it. But you can, sort of chunk it out, start with bits and pieces, and then kind of build up from there. And one of the things that I find most satisfying being a part of our clients' team is the opportunity for creativity and collaboration. So it's not all about just doing things for clients to free things up for them, which is really important, but it's really being playful and helping figure out, well, what are the different ways we can help you achieve where you're really trying to go.
I love that. I love that. Believe it or not, we are at time, which just blows me away. This
No.
went way too fast. I have a couple of questions for you ladies, though. First, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wish that I had asked you? Any comments that you want to put out there to share with the audience?
No, I think you hit on everything, Lisa. I mean, in the short time, we just encouraged folks to start. I think that's always just take that first step, and I think Sandy's guidance about asking for permission and then having some really soft conversations. I think they're fun, they're exploratory. Tell your story, and in that you can start warming up to having money conversations.
I also want to mention what popped in my head, what one of you had said earlier was you don't have to talk about the actual dollar amount to start those conversations. It can be a percentage.
Definitely.
And that
That's
can
right.
take, right? That can really ease it. But the more that we talk about it, the more that we are able to really lean into it and build that sustainability and the comfort that we want in life. So thank you. All right. May I ask you another question to each one of you? All right. What one habit or skill set has supported you in living and leading a sustainable life?
I'll go first, Cammie.
Okay.
I've been thinking about this one. Something that I've been doing for the last few years is when I wake up in the morning, instead of jumping out of bed and getting the day started, I really have been thinking about my day. What's coming up? What am I doing? What am I excited about? What is my intention for different aspects of the day? And that's really helped me be more aware and more intentional about what I'm doing.
And I'll tie it back to money, and money conversations. So, Lisa, I'm very committed to physical fitness and nutrition, things like that. And I find it very easy. And every day I get up and do my exercise and I eat pretty well. And I think on my financial side, I'm not quite as disciplined. And so what I've learned through Money Tales and really been inspired by a number of our guests and our clients at Aspirant is to chip away at it. Don't make it a big deal. So I'm starting to be more intentional with daily interactions and engagement with my financial life. And it's really been inspired through many of our guests.
Beautiful. Thank you, ladies. Both of those are so incredibly powerful. Where can people reach out to you and connect with you, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's at Aspirant, and if you want to spell that so people can know exactly where to find you?
That is quite a word. So yes, please, you can reach me through LinkedIn, Cammie Doder, as well as through our podcasts. You can reach us at podcasts@Aspirant, ASPIRIANT.com.
You can also go to the Aspirant website. We have a Start a Dialogue section. That's another way to get in touch.
Wonderful. So if you're reaching out to either Cammie or Sandi, please let them know that you heard them on Sustainable Leadership Live so that they know where you're coming from and the connection. That would be great. And if you're watching live or on the replay, if you're watching replay, please type #replay in the conversation. That would be absolutely fabulous. I just want to give a shout out to Kate for joining us. She said this is so helpful and great reminders on all. Thank you, Kate. I so appreciate it. Next week, we have the magnificent Samantha Buckley Hugeson. I love that long name. She's going to be on June 8th, 10 a.m. East Coast time, and she's going to be talking about how to design your own life, a life that you love, and make sure that you are living that sustainable life. So please join us on June 8th. Again, Samantha Buckley Hugeson at 10 a.m. East Coast time. I just want to give a huge shout out to these ladies. They are on the West Coast, and they got up super early today to be sharing their brilliance with us. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Lisa, this was so much fun. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Lisa, and to your
Thanks, everyone.
listeners.
Have a great day. Bye.